buckle up because F1, the new movie starring Brad Pitt, just raced into theaters this weekend. What did I think of it? You'll have to wait to find out. Anyway, F1 starring Brad Pitt, Javier Bardem, Damson Idris, and Kerry Condon just rolled into theaters and is directed by Joseph Kosinski, who recently did Top Gun Maverick, which honestly I thought that was Christopher McQuarrie, but Top Gun Maverick is actually a great comparison to this movie. They're very similar types of films. Alright, so F1 follows Brad Pitt's character, Sonny Hayes, a former F1 driver who's just recently kind of come back up in the media as he's been making his rounds through different circuit races. Sorry, I'm not a car guy. I have no idea what these other races are that he's doing. After Sonny Hayes starts kind of making a stir in media again, an old friend played by Javier Bardem shows back up into his life and is trying to convince Brad Pitt's character to return to F1 and join his team because he needs that extra driver. After some convincing, Brad Pitt decides, alright, you know what? I'll join the F1 team. I'll make my return. So Sonny Hayes shows up at the team's facilities and is greeted by the new hotshot driver, Joshua Pierce, and a pit crew and team that's a little bit in shambles, as well as a piece of shit car. Classic sports movie narrative ensues, and Brad Pitt has to shape up this F1 team so that they can be ready to win their first championship. Honestly, I didn't know much about F1 coming into this, other than it's becoming pretty big in America now, and people tell me that it's about a lot more than just cars racing around in circles and stuff. And I'll say right away, yeah. They were right. It is more than just that. Honestly, I was actually really taken aback by the team nature of this sport. Not only is there a huge emphasis on, of course, like the pit crew and how quickly you can change out tires and get back on the track, but I'd never really thought about, mostly because I have never paid attention to this stuff before, why are there two cars from the same team out on the racetrack? Well, it was really cool to see how they can actually use each other to propel one further in the race or strategically hold others up. And then you have their crew coming over the comms and they're kind of game planning and strategizing. What tires should they be using? How warm are they? How much time do you need to make up on the course to get in front of another race car driver? There's a lot of play calling going on, and I don't know why I didn't think that was a thing, but it is. And it was actually really cool to see how every member of the team contributed, and Brad Pitt has this great line in it. If everyone on the team can contribute something that makes 1/10 of a second more efficient, then every lap that'll be 1 second, and by the end it's 72 seconds, which is the difference between losing and winning. And I don't know, I thought that was a pretty cool line. But yeah, you really start rooting for them as a team. And similar to Top Gun Maverick, there's all of these shots where the camera's like mounted on the F1 car. And so you really get into these races. You know, I found myself on the edge of my seat, actually really tense throughout a lot of these race sequences. And I think a lot of that has to do with how the movie was shot and the sound design. I need to talk about sound design more, especially when it's this effective. In this movie, the sound design really took it to the next level. There was also a lot of great needle drops, you know, like Led Zeppelin music comes in and it's timed and synced up with like the car revving and switching gears and stuff. Like, I love when that kind of music connects with the actual like on-screen sound effects. That's always really fun. So definitely go see this in the movie theaters and find a Dolby Atmos or an XD or an IMAX or something to see it in where you get the best possible sound, because it's great. And when it comes to the story, I thought Brad Pitt's character, Sonny Hayes, he actually reminded me a lot of Cliff Booth from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He has that same kind of affectation to his voice. He's also a little bit cocky and arrogant, but he's very likable and charming at the same time. And everything he says to the team, it immediately has this kind of gravitas of like, oh yeah, we can trust this guy. I can rely on this guy. But then he also is the cause of so much chaos. And then it makes you question, like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, can we really trust him and trust everything he's bringing to the team? I don't know. You have to watch the movie. The other driver, Joshua Pierce, played by Damson Idris, I thought he was great in the role. He also walked that fine line of having to be an arrogant, kind of unlikable character, but we still had to root for him. I really liked the bravado between the two of them and them kind of going back and forth and having to figure out how to be partners. I also think Kerry Condon as the lead car tech was great. She brought a levity to the film that I really enjoyed. And the relationship between Brad Pitt and Javier Bardem's character was truly heartwarming at times. Everything felt very natural and organic, the way these characters interacted, and not too heavy-handed, which I really appreciated. The movie could slip into being a little over-dramatic very easily, and I feel like it just held back from that a little bit. That being said, it is a bit of a formulaic story. I think you kind of pick up on what that formula is, the classic sports movie formula, and it kind of just follows that exactly. Sometimes that's a good thing. I guess it's kind of like the Top Gun Maverick effect. It can be kind of straightforward and audiences are receptive to that. And because in this case, the acting and filmmaking was so on point, it's kind of hard to complain about a formula that works. And really my only other criticism for it is that maybe it's a little too long, because once you start to kind of feel the formula and then you kind of know what certain beats are that are happening, it just feels like it goes on a little too long. You kind of know just ultimately where it's gonna go, so it'd be nice if it could have just fast forwarded through a little bit of that. I had a really great time with this, and so did my son. He loves cars and he said it was very realistic. So if you're into cars and you like F1, I think you'll like this movie. And if you're not into F1, I think you'll also like this movie. Its engine is running smooth. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 tires. Hey, you only need 4 tires to drive a car, am I right? All right, so F1, did you see it? What did you guys think of it? Brad Pitt, what do you think of him? He's cool, right? All right. Check out some of my other videos on the channel. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.